mean that this alcohol shouldn't kill people. Yeah, it should be drinkable. It shouldn't be poisonous. Second of all, predominant flavor, as we said, should be juniper. And third of all, minimum bottling strength for gin should be 37.5% ABV. Can be more, but cannot be less. So there are different types of gin. There are a lot of classifications regarding it. But today we're going to pay attention to three main categories. First, going to be London gin or London dry gin. Second, going to be distilled gin. And third, going to be gin or otherwise compound gin, as we call it. London dry gin is the most complex category from the classification because there are a lot of rules for gin to be called London gin or London dry gin. First of all, London gin should be made by redistillation of neutral spirit with botanicals. After distillation, you cannot add anything there except of water and a bit of sugar. So all the flavors in London dry gin you get through redistillation, your neutral spirit with botanicals. Alcohol should be a high quality one. Only high quality alcohol can be allowed to use in London dry gin. The redistillant has to be redistilled to 70% ABV minimum. So if it's less, it cannot be called London dry gin. After distillation, you add some water to dilute it to bring down the strength to 37.5% ABV. No colorings can be added to London dry gin. So if you see pink gin or some other gins, it's not London dry gin anymore. All the botanicals which are used for flavoring of London dry gin should be natural and allowed by European Union law. So the most well-known here in the market London dry gins are Beefeater, Tanqueray, Gordon's. But at the same time, if you see Tanqueray Sevilla, for example, it's not going to be London dry gin anymore because they add flavorings after distillation. So regular Tanqueray is and Sevilla isn't. Next category is distilled gin. Hendrix is distilled gin. So the difference between London dry gin and distilled gin is that to distill gin you can add flavorings and coloring after distillation. So basically it's the same process. You take neutral spirit, you add botanicals, you redistill it. But then you can add additional flavorings, natural ones. You can add a bit more sugar if you need, and you can add coloring. So distilled gin can be pink, it can be sweet, it can be fruit flavored, up to the distiller. And there is no regulation about minimum strength of redistiller. But in terms of bottling strength, it still should be 37.5. Yeah, as I said, the most well-known in the market at the moment distilled gin is Hendrix. There is another category. I will tell about it, but you're gonna forget about it straight away. So it is gin or compound gin. So we are coming from different countries, and usually when we go to the grocery shop or the supermarket, you can buy alcohol there. But when you see something on the shelf, which is either unbranded or brand of the supermarket or the shop, and you never heard about this brand before, and it's the cheapest price there, same price as, for example, juice, you can understand that it's going to be gin or compound gin. What is gin or compound gin? It's neutral spirit, which is infused with different flavorings, juniper as well. Juniper still should be predominant. But there is no rule about redistillation. There is no rule about minimum strength. There is no rule about the quality of spirit. So the spirit can be low quality. It can be actually poisonous because there is no regulation about it. So that's why sometimes cheap is not good enough to consume. Usually it's unknown brands. You cannot find these gins in the bars because it's not allowed to sell it to people from the restaurants and the bars. So here you are safe, but in general try to avoid this category when you are going home and trying to buy it. There are a lot of different categories of gin as well. You can ask about Plymouth gin. Plymouth gin is London dry gin, but made in Plymouth, right? Old Tom gin, very similar to London dry, but has more sugar content, and it has a story behind that one of the smart Englishmen, when gin was not allowed to sell in England, he was trying to buy to sell gin from underground. So in his house, he made a picture of the old dog black cat with his paw out, and there was a small pipe going from his paw, and people were just going there, putting on the window a couple of coins, and he was pouring them a gin. That's why his gin was called Old Tom. And at the time, distillation was not on a high level, so spirit which he was selling was very low quality. It didn't taste good. That's why to cover all these impurifications and bad smell and bad taste, he was adding a lot of sugar there. So that's why London dry gin has less sugar, and Old Tom traditionally has more sugar. Even though at the moment it's high quality, it's better distilled, it's better filtered, but it's tradition, yeah? So people still add more sugar inside. There are as well fruit gins. The most common one is sloe gin. It's not really popular at the moment, but as category it exists, so you can know and remember about it. So that's all about gins. Category is not really complicated. What you need to remember is London dry gin and distilled gin. Now we are moving to Hendrick's. So Hendrick's is a product of William Grant's family as well. So before it was created, the guys who were running the business, they had already 5 generations of master distillers who were improving themselves while making different spirits. So Hendrick's is really a brainchild of them. So when it was created, they already knew how to do it in the best way. It didn't appear straight away. So it was a long process while they came to Hendrick's. So in early 1960s, Mr. Charles Gordon, he was son-in-law of William Grant, the founder of Glenfiddich. He was a sales agent basically, but there were no phones and no internet. So in order to sell something, he was traveling around the country and to different countries of the world as well to explore new markets. And he realized that there is a huge opportunity to produce neutral spirits. Why? Because you can sell it to everyone. You can sell it to pharmaceutical business. You can sell it to perfume business. You can make new spirits out of it. That's why he came up with the idea to open another distillery, which is gonna produce neutral grain spirit. And he did it. He found a place in southwest of Scotland, on the shore, in a small village of Irvine, and started his distillery. He actually spent half the year building it, and then they began production. It was not Hendrick's straight away, it was just neutral grain spirit. So Hendrick's appeared later. So the story behind Hendrick's is that it's absolutely inefficient gin. It's too expensive to be true, and it's too expensive to make. It has 4 different distillants inside, which makes it absolutely special and unique. It has 4 distillants, including 2 different gins and 2 different distillants which bring more flavors to it, which is cucumber and rose. But it happened later, so the recipe of Hendrick's appeared in 1990s. So the recipe was created by the master distiller of the distillery, whose name was Leslie Gracie. She's still working there. She still comes up with new recipes and twisting up ingredients in different varieties of Hendrick's. At the moment she created it, it was absolutely unique product. No one did anything similar to it. And gin was created, but the problem was the name. They had to come up with some name which is gonna represent the gin at its best. So Grant's family decided to give the opportunity to create the name of Hendrick's to the oldest member of the family. And the oldest member of the family at that point was aunt of Mr. Gordon himself. So his aunt was like 90-year-old, old Scottish woman who was very well respected in the family. And she loved her roses. She loved her rose garden. Obviously, she was rich, so she didn't take care of her garden herself. She had a gardener for that. And her gardener's name was Mr. Hendrick's. That's why she came up with the idea to give name of Hendrick's to the gin. That's how the name was something. Bottle is absolute nightmare for every bartender. It's not transparent at all. You can put the light inside, outside, you're never gonna see through it. Why it is so? So juniper is always considered as some medicine, right? It helps, they say, it helps from blood pressure, from heart diseases, from some other stuff, I don't even know what. And that was the inspiration. So the guys, when they were making the bottle of Hendrix, they were thinking about Victorian pharmacies, pharmaceutical shops. So all the medicines were basically alcohol infusions to make its shelf life longer. And these alcohol infusions were with herbs. And as we know, the sun affects herbal infusions in a bad way. In order to protect the most precious, the most important infusions, the bottles were made not transparent to protect it from the sun. So that was the inspiration. That's why when you look at Hendrix, you feel like you are in the pharmacy of Victorian era, and you feel that inside of the bottles is something precious, unique, and helpful for your health, most probably. Why rose and cucumber? So as we know, the traditional syrup of Hendrix is with cucumber. Why? Because there is cucumber and rose distillate inside to bring some more flavors. But in the beginning, there was no idea about it. Master is Lester Gracie. She's Scottish, yeah, and she grown up there, and she was thinking about gin. Gin is something that is considered to be very, very, very good, very, very English. So for her, when she pictured English family having lunch, it was lunch in the rose garden, having the toast.